and she understands there's a reason, not because she shoots the ball well. Yes, that also helps. But there's another reason, Scott. There's a reason that says I'm white and it's a privilege and people love me. And I'm okay with that, but I want to also acknowledge everyone else. Why is she being bullied?
Why is that wrong?
Why is she being bullied for acknowledging something that's smart, truth, and factual?
Well, a couple things. Number one, whether you're an athlete or anyone else, if I hear you use the phrase "my truth," I immediately then discount everything else you say, because there isn't my truth or your truth. There's just the truth. And when you start using phrases like that, it tells me that
That's not true.
Your brain has been captured by something that I don't really respect.
That's not true.
Number two.
That's not true.
Number two, the attention the league got this year was amazing, and it was all because of her. She is an amazing player. The arenas were full when she played in them. The TV ratings were up when she was on television. That's undeniable. But the league still lost like $40 million this year. And it's never made money. And to me, when you're talking about respecting people who built something, what did they build? A league that loses money every year? She has the capacity.
What do you mean, what did they build? What do you mean, what did they build?
What kind of a business did they build?
They've had a business model that has allowed women who have never had a professional sport here in America, in the United States of America, to play. They've kept it alive as opposed to sending them overseas. That's what she's built. That's what they've built.
Courageous Media, welcome in. We got a great show for you today. The master of the facial expression is back. Scott Jennings is back on, he's never left CNN, but he's back with a vengeance. We've got to cover this story. I showed you that clip so that you could get an idea of who Carrie Champion is, in case you don't know. She's not even an ESPN pundit. Some people will say she's an ESPN pundit. She wasn't even that. She was a moderator for the debate show between Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless when it was big. She was the moderator. She sat there and did nothing. So somehow she has flipped that into an ESPN punditry career and has now showed up on CNN, where she routinely, whenever she does show up, gets destroyed by Scott Jennings. Well, he does it again because she has ventured in that particular case right there, she was at least commenting on something that was half sports, half politics. Well, she has now ventured fully into the political realm, and the master of facial expressions is back. We're going to check out that clip. It is bombshell. It's amazing stuff. He just completely destroys her. So we're going to get into this entire situation going on at CNN, where CNN is actually destroying themselves. And when I say that, we're going to check in with one CNN host who I fear might be fired as of today. I think he's ended his career because he actually deigned to tell the truth. He actually went rogue and gave a fair and fairly unbiased, even-handed evaluation of Trump's last 2 weeks in light of his entire in light of the entire first 6 months of his administration. So we're going to check in with that, Smirkish. So welcome in, everybody. Thanks for joining. Let's dive right into Scott Jennings as he absolutely destroys Carrie Champion as she tries to venture into the political arena. This is great stuff. Here we go.
Jobs not done. A foreign minister from Rwanda told CNN, he said he's committed to supporting this ongoing negotiation, but warned that ending the conflict will depend on political will and the good faith. And he doesn't know if that is true, referring to the DRC's government. It's not done. It's not done.
You didn't watch the news yesterday. They literally announced it in the Oval Office.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
He's absolutely right. They literally announced it. Here we go.
This is indeed a historical day. Because it's the signing of a peace agreement between Congo and Rwanda to end a conflict that has been going on for 30 years.
Let me ask you a question.
Literally in the Oval Office.
Can I say something?
Friday afternoon.
You said something earlier. You said, and you kind of agree with Pete, when he says there's something about the media where they feel like they want to disprove Donald Trump. Is that what you said? Something to that effect?
It happens every day.
And you think that's what they want to do, right? You think the media is going in to say he's lying and he's not telling the truth. You believe that?
That is the standing disposition.
That is, okay, this is so obvious inherently obvious to the casual observer. The entire propaganda media apparatus is absolutely infected with Trump derangement syndrome. They are absolutely infected with Trump hatred. They are absolutely infected with MAGA hatred, America First hatred. They despise everything to do with the movement, with Trump himself, with Trump supporters. And they will go out of their way. And when I say go out of their way, I mean they will spin stories. They will hand select facts. They will absolutely concoct facts and concoct stories out of whole cloth. See the New York Times, in order to try to discredit Trump, discredit MAGA, discredit America First. It's absolutely true. That's why we call them the propaganda news network, because they do not talk about the truth. They don't even talk about any truth. They sell you a story, a narrative. And 90% of the time, it is more than 60% false, absolutely in error. But this is what Carrie Champion's going to try to weigh in on after she just absolutely destroyed whatever shred of credibility, which was basically zero, that she had before. Here we go.
Do you believe that he tells the truth?
Yeah, I do.
Every time?
You think
all presidents do
you
that?
think the
All presidents?
president tells the truth? This current president tells the truth often.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I also think that, to our point that we haven't established, he does announce things before it's too soon.
They literally had the
program is
countries
not
in
a-
there.
The program isn't.
I feel like you should watch the news before you come out here.
I feel like you should.
I feel like you should watch the news before you come out here. We showed you the clip. They literally had representatives from the two countries in the Oval Office signing the agreement. Now, Trump did say, and so did Marco Rubio, that there's a few more details to iron out with the actual heads of state. But they had the leaders, they had representatives of the two countries literally sign the agreement. Trump was not late. He was there in person as they did it, as they thanked him for bringing this peace agreement about. This conflict that has been going on for 30 years. And I know this conflict because I flew there in the 90s. I flew what we affectionately in the Air Force called Meals on Wheels in the 90s to Kigali, to Goma, cities that are named in their larger press conference. I've been there. I've seen the effects of the Tutsis and the Hutus massacring each other. Bloodstains on the walls, bullet holes, the airport basically destroyed and abandoned except for the runway that we landed at. It's absolutely nuts. It's been going on that long. And Trump has brought it to an end because Trump cares. Talk about Black Lives Matter. Trump actually cares about Black lives that none of the other Democrats or Black leaders had anything to say about.
You should stop trying to defend him just
Hang
to
on.
defend
I feel like
him.
you should watch the news.
You should stop.
Watch the news. I want to get that part again.
I feel like you should stop trying to defend him just to defend him.
I feel like you should watch the news.
I think you should watch the news. I mean, this is absolutely classic. Now, this comes on the heels of Trump winning over the last 2 weeks. Let's give you a brief synopsis of just some of the things that have happened in the last couple of weeks. Trump initially weighed in on the entire Israel-Iran conflict nonsense. So you've got Israel, they launch preemptive strikes against Iran. Trump basically says, look, it's Israel, they're doing it. Yeah, we knew about it. And then Trump decides to weigh in and says, wait a minute, Iran cannot do what they really want to do, which is take out the nuclear program. Now, Iran really wanted regime change. Israel really wanted regime change. Israel was all in for that. They were hoping to goad America into a regime change war. And Trump said, hell no. No. But he also realized that Israel cannot do what we want them to do, which is destroy Iran's nuclear program. They do not have the weaponry or the capability to do it. So Trump executes absolutely meticulously to perfection, extremely complex, logistically challenged, high targeted strikes against 3 Iran nuclear sites, and immediately Iran goes to the table. Trump brokers a ceasefire. He gets Israel out of the conflict. He gets America out of the conflict. He gets Iran out of the conflict and reshapes global politics almost overnight. In the same time frame, remember when the media and the left was apoplectic about the Trump tariffs? They're going to destroy the economy. Inflation's going nuts. It's going to be absolute destruction. Look at everybody's 401ks melting down. In the same week, the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Dow Jones all hit all-time record highs. while inflation was at a near 60-year low, down at 2.4%. Not quite as low as Trump got it in his first term, but other than that, near record lows. So he's got inflation tamed. The market is soaring. Wages are up. Real blue collar wages are up nearly 4.9%. Trump's economy is beginning to roll. If we could get two things done, if we could get the big, beautiful bill passed, as much as there are things in there I don't like, we got to get those tax cuts. We got to get some of the other things done, and then we can go back and fix it over time. Get that done and get Jerome Powell and his TDS nonsense out of the way and get rates coming down. This economy would begin an absolute tidal wave. While that's going on, previously Trump had brokered a peace deal between India and Pakistan, and now Trump brokers a peace deal between Rwanda and the DRC, essentially between the continuation of the Tutsi-Hutu massacre that's been going on essentially for 30 years, that has now butted up not as a pure civil war, but between two warring states. So Trump is winning over and over and over again. And CNN, the deranged liberal lunatics on CNN cannot stand it, with the exception of one. Now, Michael Smirkish was a sports commentator generally, and he got into news. I remember him as more of a sports commentator, where he got his start in Philadelphia. Local Philadelphia radio was Michael Smirkish. Then he kind of he went from sports talk, he morphed into politics. He was a center left, more middle of the road radio host in Philadelphia, and then he got his gig with CNN. Now, to his credit and to his detriment, because his career is probably over, although CNN's been kind of skewing because they let Scott Jennings stay on Abby Phillips' show. But Michael Smirkish had this to say, and I want you to hear it, because my jaw hit the floor when I saw Michael Smirkish saying this on CNN. Here we go. While I pull this up, you could please, thanks everybody for showing up. Would you please like, comment, and subscribe? Most importantly, share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. If you like the content, please support us. You can join us as a member on YouTube now. That link should be active on YouTube. You can also hit us with the super or join us on Patreon. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Here we go.
President Trump is having a moment. I'm Michael Smirkish in New York City. The first 5 months of Trump 2.0, they're in the books. I'm not shy about voicing my disagreement here with President Trump. We're doing so on radio. Often, whether it's trade, border control, Iran, I find myself agreeing with the goal, but not the approach. But viewed objectively, I have to say that Donald Trump has just had the best week or best 10 days of his second term. I'm still not sure bombing Iran was warranted, but the mission was carried out with stealth and with precision. There were no American casualties. And while Congress is divided after receiving briefings on the extent of the damage, I'm sure that we've derailed Iran's nuclear program, at least temporarily. And there's some valuable deterrent effect for America's adversaries who witnessed last week's exercise. Of course, Trump's initial imposition of tariffs wreaked havoc on American markets back in the spring. But now the markets have rebounded and grown. The S&P 500, NASDAQ hit record highs just yesterday. And it's not just the stock market. Inflation, the great economic fear of recent times, seems to be tamed. The rate is now reported at 2.4%, down from a high of 7% just 4 years ago. Meanwhile, blue-collar workers have seen real wage growth of 1.7% in Trump's first 5 months. This is the largest such increase in nearly 3 generations. And there's the border. Crossings have slowed to a trickle. According to CBP's May update, Southwest border encounters have fallen to about 282 a day, a drop of 93% from last year, and the lowest since the early 1960s. Perhaps the loudest cheering for those border numbers is coming from America's Latino community, which might initially sound counterintuitive. On Thursday, Pew Research released an enormous data analysis of the 2024 election, which contains several surprises. High on that list, President Trump won a bigger percentage of the Latino vote than previously believed. Hillary Clinton had a 38% lead over Trump among Hispanics in 2016. Joe Biden beat Trump in this demo by 25 percentage points. Kamala Harris's margin among these same voters over Trump, just 3 points. Yesterday came a huge decision from the Supreme Court. The High Court declared that federal district judges exceeded their authority when issuing nationwide injunctions against Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship. This will, of course, strengthen executive power both for Trump and for his successors. By any objective measure, President Trump has his opponents on the run.
Because he has got them on the run, 100%. Kudos to Michael Smirkish for saying the quiet part out loud on CNN. Michael Smirkish absolutely killing it with a fair, even-handed, fairly unbiased evaluation of Trump's last 10 days. And to his credit, he does not decry Trump the entire way. He gets in his obligatory, I disagree with Trump on many things, and sometimes I agree with the idea, but maybe not the approach. But what he did fairly even-handedly was he talked about the things that are good for America. The border crossings at 228 a day with zero being released into the country is good for America. Inflation at 2.4% is good for America. Gas prices at a 10-year low is good for America. Wages, blue-collar wages going up 1.7% is good for America. The rest of CNN, the clowns like Abby Phillips and Carrie Champion, would rather America lose so that they could dog Trump. They hate America. They, in fact, hate America so much that they hate Trump so much, they're willing for America to lose so that they can dog Trump. That's how much they hate America. It's absolutely amazing. Now, I want to play two more clips along this vein because first things first, Stephen Miller had this correct a long time ago. We're going to get into that. And finally, we're going to finish up with Van Jones basically calling out the same thing that Smirkish did, only he did not do it on CNN. He did it on his TikTok feed, which means he might still have a job. But here we go. Let's check out Stephen Miller saying basically the same thing in his own very Stephen Millerish way.
Well, let's just take a moment to think about how historic this moment is and what President Trump has achieved in this 12-day war. Presidents going back to Bill Clinton have said it is the policy of the U.S. government not to allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. But under every president except Trump, Iran marched closer and closer to being able to put onto a ballistic missile a nuclear warhead that could take out an entire city. That has been the direction Iran has been going in year after year. President Trump took action flawlessly through the United States military to obliterate Iran's nuclear sites and to stop them through the use of military force from having a nuclear weapon. It was a bold, courageous action, and it happened without a single leak, without a single solitary service member losing their life. Everyone said, who was a critic of this action, that it would lead to World War III, and instead we have a ceasefire, and instead we have the beginnings of a new era of stability and peace and security in the Middle East. President Trump, once again, has demonstrated that he alone has the wisdom, the judgment, the strength, and the courage to see this nation through the most dangerous challenges we face around the world, Sean.
100%.
It is amazing.
And as Stephen Miller said, just drop the bomb. President Trump again demonstrated he alone has the wisdom, guile, judgment, and courage. 100%. Now we're going to get into this Van Jones clip, but this is absolutely amazing stuff. So check out Van Jones, who is basically saying the same thing on his TikTok feed. This is great stuff from a known communist, Van Jones.
How the hell did Donald Trump figure out the mainstream media is the fringe and the fringe is now the mainstream? How the hell did Donald Trump figure out? I mean, Joe Rogan is obvious, right? Like, we knew the guy had a big audience. It's not like we were like stunned, but like, how the hell was he, the 78-year-old guy who doesn't even have a computer and still like writes handwritten notes? How did he become the guy who cracked the code on, to your point, running a cultural, I don't even want to say campaign, running
it was a movement. Look,
heading a cultural movement versus a campaign.
Every one of your people knows Elon. Listen. Yeah, so everybody keeps, the problem is you have a framework in your mind that how can Donald Trump? Guys, can we cut it out? Donald Trump is not an idiot. Donald Trump, let me just be very clear. Donald Trump is smarter than me, you, and all critics. You know why we know? Because he has the White House, the Senate, the House.
Totally agree.
The popular vote.
And now he's got peace with Iran. Now he's got peace between India and Pakistan. He's got peace between the DRC and Rwanda. He's got low inflation, massively running, booming stock markets. He's got job growth. He's got income growth. He's got the border sealed. Trump is winning. Winning, winning, winning. And Van Jones is right. Trump is smarter than all of these clowns. Frankly, CNN, if they were smart, wouldn't fire Smirkish. I don't know that they will, but yeah, they shouldn't fire him. They should give him Abby Phillips' spot. Actually, they should give Scott Jennings Abby Phillips' spot. But knowing that they won't do that because Scott Jennings is right wing, they should at least give Smirkish Abby Phillips' spot because she is a complete and utter clown. She is a propagandist hack. She is an activist masquerading as a moderator. She can't even masquerade as a journalist. She can only masquerade as a moderator, and she doesn't even do that well. She is an activist debater on the show. This is absolutely amazing stuff. Trump is killing it. And Smirkish actually had the gall to say so on CNN. We'll see how he fares over the next few days.